Hey Duchess, I gotta do a video on a Wolfman today. Do you want to do something funny for the intro? Okay, that'll work.
Okay, talking about the doggo captain, Sajin Komamura, captain of Squad 7, a reliable man if there ever was a man, but he's not even really a man, he's a dog or a fox or some type of canine, you know how it goes? Okay, I like Captain Komamura, and I like the fact that Kubo gave him some action in the final arc, Komamura sometimes, he just seems to be kind of like a punching bag, because he's one of the more sturdy, like the heavy kind of classifications of captain, he's just like, I'm there, I'm gonna beat the crap out of him and call it a day. And sometimes that works, if you have enough physical power, you can crush somebody, like what happened with Pow. You had this giant whale around car that's like, I'm gonna stomp everybody, and then Komamura's like, no you're not. BAM! And then that's it. That's how that fight went, right? But, as we've established with Aizen's video, physical strength doesn't usually work against him all too well. So a lot of times what happens with Komamura, and also Komamura is a very moral individual, okay? He's very virtuous, I guess. In fact, I would say out of all of the members of the Gotei 13, some of them just kind of like, yeah, we're captains, honor and dignity and all that stuff. Like, obviously, like, Byakuya is all about that. But then you get to other ones that are like, okay, Kenpachi don't really care about honor of the Gotei. All he wants to do is just cut people up. Mayuri really doesn't care about the goal or the honor of the Gotei 13. He just wants to experiment on a bunch of people in Quincy. That's what he wants to do, right? Soifone has it, certainly, and Komamura has it, certainly. So it's kind of good I'm doing one after the other here. So, whenever somebody badmouths the Gotei 13, or more specifically Yamamoto, who was the person that kind of inspired, Sajin to join, we're not exactly sure how that went, but, he holds a great debt to Yamamoto. I'm imagining at some point in his past, Yamamoto might have found him living out in the Rukongai district in some cave somewhere, and he didn't, look at Sajin, in a different way or an inferior way because of the fact he looks like an animal. He's a beast. Now listen, the whole reason why he's a dog, it was never like, they never actually explain this in great detail, but basically how this goes is, in Buddhist teachings, there's a bunch of different afterlives, and most of those afterlives sync up with the afterlives we've seen in Bleach. Like, there's a realm of the Asura, who, not the Asura, the hungry ghosts, and that's Huecomundo, basically, because the hollows are basically hungry ghosts trying to consume the souls of humans to literally fill the hole in themselves, There's a literal, like an actual hell, like a Buddhist hell, there's hell there. There's a version that syncs up with the Soul Society where you live there as a soul for a very, very long time, but nothing is, like, constant in Buddhism. It's not like if you die and you go to heaven and you live there for all eternity. You can die and your soul goes to this other realm, the Soul Society, and you could be there for thousands of years, but eventually in that realm you will die and the reincarnation cycle will go back. There's also a beast realm, usually reserved for the people that have very, like, carnal desires or just give themselves over to their primal desires in life. They'll end up going to the beast realm and end up being reincarnated as beasts. And so this actually syncs up a lot with Sajin's clan. We get to see his great-grandfather, who is a giant Falcor dog in the last arc, and he's talking about how our clan, just basically gave themselves over to revenge. Revenge! And that's what led them to this state, okay? So they're from the beast realm, or the beast clan, right? So that's the reason the way he looks, the way he does, used to be human at one point, but throughout the reincarnation cycle, he ended up the way he was. And for that reason, he was discriminated against. Yamamoto and Tozen, because Tozen being blind, for that reason, but Yamamoto didn't probably view him that way. He just extended the hand of gratitude. You just come with me. Or maybe Sajin might have helped out Yamamoto back in his early days. Who knows? Well, anyway, if anyone badmouths Yamamoto or the Gotei, he gets enraged by that. He's like, how dare you to defile the name of the Gotei? And especially when Aizen and Tozen especially, because they were like friends growing up, and Gin, when they defected, he was completely enraged. And that's one of the most badass moments of Bleach. Like, if I was going to do like a top 20 moments, that would definitely be on there. And I love that scene so much when Aizen is on the Sokyoku just monologuing like a mofo, just going on and on about how awesome he was and how his plan was perfect. I think he was explaining it to like Renji and Ichigo. Like Ichigo's on the ground barely like holding on, because remember what Aizen did to him when Renji and Ichigo charged Aizen. Aizen just kind of, he just like wished away Renji, not a big deal, grabbed Tensa Zangetsu with one finger and then almost freaking like sliced Ichigo. It wouldn't be decapitated, like almost bifurcated him, you know, almost sliced him in half. You know, basically it was just his spinal cord that was holding on. And so Ichigo's on the ground bleeding out and he's like looking at Aizen, and Aizen's just like, you know, I did this and then I wiped out Central 46 and I did this. And in the middle of this entire monologue, Komamura just crashes out of the sky, like, Aizen! And then he just like, goes to punch him, and it doesn't work, because it's just, he's enraged, and even though maybe he took Aizen by a modicum of surprise, probably not, because Aizen could have probably sensed his spiritual pressure a mile away, like, Komamura is rocketing towards me right now. It's okay, I still can get 3 more sentences out before he arrives, and then I'll just dispatch him quite quickly, because Komamura was not aware of the, you know, Kyoka Suigetsu ability. So, yeah, his Zanpakuto, though, kind of in the same vein as Kenpachi, it's pretty much just a mass of physical power. It's a little bit more nuanced, I suppose, than Kenpachi's, whose is just a giant cleaver that just hacks things up a lot. It's like, it's a cleaver that can cut anything, okay? So Komamura's is a giant. What kind of giant? Well, a samurai armored giant. That's the kind of giant, which, in my opinion, are the best giants. Komamura doesn't really tend to use his Shikai all that much. He's one of the fighters that tends to jump immediately to bankai. And looking at this thing, Kokujo Tengen Myo, you can kind of see why. It's just a fun bankai to say. I love the Myo part, right? But he does have a Shikai, obviously, and it's just Tenken, and I think Roar is the release command here. And the Shikai and Bankai, very simple abilities, okay? So in his Bankai, he obviously summons the giant behind him, and the giant will mimic his every move. So if Komamura swings the sword with his right arm, like in a downward, like, slice, the giant will do the exact same thing. I also believe that it's you know, it's not like the giant will move, like, super slow. No, it'll move as fast as Komamura, but keep in mind, Komamura's not the fastest fighter in the Gote 13, alright? He can do Shunpo and everything. I mean, he's a captain level Shinigami, but he's just got a lot more, he's bulkier. Speed is not his strong suit, okay? And that also transfers over to the giant. But most of the time, as Tozen stated during their fight during Fate Karakura, when Tozen was in that giant cricket Ryuk form, it's just like, you never really think about what would happen if your opponent could survive one strike, because Kokujo Tengen Myo, up until this point, was so ridiculously strong, you've always defeated your opponents with one serious attack. And by looking at the giant, you can see why. You know, Koma gets pissed, there's like a Gillion or something attacking him, you know, goes Bankai and just whoosh, and just one attack slices the damn thing down. So, you know, you're not really going to be worried about what's going to happen after that. But Tozen was one of the very few opponents that was able to actually grab the blade and block the attack and actually crack the blade a little bit. And this is where we get into the downside, but also the upside of the Bankai. So as we learned in the last arc, the Bankai release, when you go into that form, into that state, and you get damaged while in that form, whether it be from, like, the sword or whatever creature you summon, if the blade gets damaged, it can't repair itself. And that's not a good thing. So Ichigo, you know, Hashwall sliced his Tensa Zangetsu in half, the one that he just repaired with his Fullbring in the previous arc, by the way, and now it's destroyed, and Mayori's like, yeah, sorry, Ichigo Kurosaki, there's nothing I can do, it's destroyed, now get out of my lab, you bore me, you know, like, so that's how it goes, right? But Komamura's is the one exception to that rule that Mayori could find, because when Komamura gets, you know, attacked and he gets damaged, you know, the damage transfers to the giant or vice versa. So if someone lops off the giant's arm, Komamura loses an arm. If someone punches Komamura through the stomach, the giant also suffers similar damage. However, if Komamura can repair said damage, or if more like, you know, Squad 4 can heal him, or Orihime does her, Santenkeshun, whatever she does, and he gets healed, the giant will be repaired as well. So that means that him and his Zanpakuto have a very close relationship together. Komamura was probably one of the people that was maybe closer to that whole "the blade is me" than other captains were. It might also have something to do with his animalistic nature, the fact that he's not really a typical soul. He is still a soul, it's just like he's a beast soul. It's like slightly different than what like Byakuya and the other Shinigami are, right? But he is, by the way, still capable of speech and all that stuff. He's just intelligence. He just looks like a dog human, right? And I believe the reason he took that form and the reason why his great-grandfather was that giant Falcor dog, while Komamura still retained a, anthropomorphic. He could still stand up. He has 2 arms, 2 legs, and everything like that. He could still hold a blade. The reason that he retained that form is because he sort of like was teetering on the edge of his animalistic nature, okay? And basically, we find out all about this in the last arc, okay? So, he gets his bankai stolen by Sternritter E, the Explode Bambietta Basterbine. Awesome name. Alliteration is always welcome, right? So he gets his bankai stolen. So, all the other Shinigami that get their bankai stolen, they try to learn some new skills. So Soifon gets Jakuho Raikoben stolen, so she goes to try to practice her Shunko better. Toshiro gets Daigarin Hyorimaru stolen, so he goes to practice just his basic swordsmanship and refine his Shikai with Rangiku's help, okay? Who was the other one that got there? Oh, Byakuya. Byakuya got his bankai stolen, but he was, like, unconscious, so he couldn't really train because he was, like, in the Soul Palace, so he was training that way. But anyway, so Sajin, though, he goes to go talk to his great-grandfather, that Falcor dog, in a cave, and apparently there's an ancient technique that the Beast Clan members have called the humanization technique, and he's like, I need to learn that technique in order to fight. I have nothing else. Probably realizing that he mostly relied on his Zanpakuto to fight. I mean, yeah, he's got physical strength on his own, but that's not going to be good enough against the Quincy. He's got, basic understanding of Shunpo, probably knows a few basic level Kido, but he was the heavy, he was the tanky kind of captain. He relied on his strength, and he doesn't have it anymore. Oh, I forgot to mention it because it's so it's passed over so much, but the Shikai of Tenken, all that does is summon a certain portion of the giant. Okay, so Bankai summons the whole giant, and then if he activates his Shikai and he swings his sword, it'll only be the right arm and the sword that gets swung, and it's sort of like a phantasmal blade whenever he does it. He can activate Tenken and go to punch something, and it's just the giant's fist that gets summoned. He goes to kick, it's just the giant's foot that kicks. So, like I said, very, very basic, and like I said, if you could, okay, I could summon part of the giant, or I could summon the whole giant. Why not just summon the whole giant, right? Well, anyway, he learns about this humanization technique, except the prerequisite for utilizing it is a little bit risky, in that it's downright, essentially ending your own life. And what it is you have to rip your heart out and then lay it in a sake cup, in a sakazuki. Do I mean that figuratively, like you need to show me that you can bear your heart and your most carnal desires to me? No, it's literally, the Falcor dog is no. Komamura, reach into your chest, rip out your heart, leave it in this Sakazuki, and you'll attain the humanization technique. There's no bullshit here, alright? And you know what? Komamura does it. Yup. He's so dedicated to his position as captain. He's so dedicated to Yamamoto's memory, who Yamamoto's dead at this point. He probably viewed it like that. He probably viewed it like Yamamoto died protecting the Soul Society from these Quincy's. He put his life on the line. How can I call myself, a captain of the Gote? How can I respect his memory more than by also risking my life there? So, imagine that. Even if it's like, because this is his great-grandfather talking. This is somebody that Komamura knows and Komamura respects. Think of the one person in your life that you respect the most. Somebody that would never lie to you. Someone would be like, okay, if I'm going to go with advice and ask them for advice, they will shoot it straight with me. And they asked you to do that. That's a pretty hefty order. Be like, oh, don't worry, just rip your heart out, you'll be fine, you'll still be alive after that. Komamura's like, he hesitated a little bit, and we didn't actually get to see the scene where he did it, because that's a little grisly, but no, he freaking did it. He just, for the Soul Society! Pfft. Ah! Okay, hold on. I'm in there. I can feel it, but it's kind of connected to a few things. It's like, yep, those are your arteries. How many of those do I have to disconnect? I don't know. I think there's like 4 or 5. I'm not a doctor. I'm a Falcor dog. I'm like, all right. Ah! Okay. That was 3, or there more. No, I think there's 1 more. How many arteries go to your heart? I don't know. But he was like, it's like, cut the blue wire. Like, I don't know. Okay, I think we're good now. Ah! Ah! All right, here you go. Plops it in the freaking cup. And then he begins the metamorphosis. He transforms into a sexy wolf human man. And he's like, all right, sexy wolf human man. I feel that also made me stronger, apparently. So he picks up Tenken and he's like, gets a thing to cover up his gaping chest wound, and then gets a new bucket on his head, and then goes to fight against the Quincy. Alright, so benefits of the humanization technique, for one. So it basically turns you into a zombie, kind of. You're undead in the sense that, physical damage really means nothing to you, so it doesn't really matter. It's essentially, you're shedding your physical body. I know we're talking about Soul Reapers here, but you're becoming just a pure mass of Ryatsu. Alright, so, think of it like punching water. Like, you can, punch water and you might leave a little bit of a ripple and, bloop, but the water's just gonna come back together. So when he summons his bankai in this form, which is now Kokujo Tengen Myo Dangaijo, which is now this thing with the flaming eyeballs when the armor is removed, just a mass of Ryatsu. So Bambietta can attack it and blow part of it up, but it'll just, if blow up its hand will just, just congeal back together into a hand. Because you're attacking Ryatsu at that point. There's nothing physical to really destroy. And kind of the same thing with Komamura's body as well. He feels no pain. Any damage he takes, it's just going to recover. So that's the humanization technique. That's the pros of it. And he uses this ability to overwhelm Bambietta and defeat her and knock her down. She doesn't really die, though. Well, she does, but, Giselle is the zombie girl, so she could just turn her into a zombie that's also strangely sexually into Giselle. That was a weird thing, Bambi, I need you to suck the... Okay, alright, we know about Giselle. She's weird. Okay, anyway. So, after that fight, though, downside of the humanization technique is that it doesn't last very long, and it seems like the whole reason that the clan was the way they are is because they gave into revenge, right? And the great-grandfather of Komamura was kind of looking at him like he's the weird person in the clan that's trying to hold on to honor and dignity. Maybe that's why he was able to hold that form, and that's why the Falcor dog was a giant Falcor dog, right? But after he defeats Bambietta, he looks to the Silburn and he's like, I need to find the Quincy King. I need to eliminate him. I need to destroy him. And that's when Komamura starts giving himself over to revenge, and the humanization technique fails, and he transforms into an actual, wolf. Not like the wolf human he was before, like an actual wolf, walking all fours, incapable of speech. Maybe he can still speak, I don't know. It seems like he still retains intelligence. He still knows who he is and everything, but he can't hold his sword anymore. He's a dog. I'm a dog! But what I like to think how this went is the humanization technique is basically the clan's second chance for redemption. I think that's what it was. So they gave over to these carnal desires. In Komamura's clan's case, it was revenge. They're people that gave into revenge during their life on Earth. They were completely absorbed by it, and so when they died, they were reincarnated into these beasts, right? But there is a way out. The humanization technique. What you can do is you can, at the risk of your own heart, so that's the payment, already pretty high price to pay to rip out your own heart. You do that, though, and you turn back into a human, and you get a second chance to see if you can go against those carnal urges. And if Komamura actually succeeded in that, if Komamura didn't feel that revenge, like, I need to do everything to them that they did to us, I need to eliminate him, I need to respect... Maybe if he didn't do that,
he would have been able to stay in that form. He would have been given a second chance, and he would have become a true human, like the same that Komamura, I mean, the same as like Byakuya and the other Shinigami. But he didn't. He defeated Bambietta, and he immediately was like, you know, I need to go after Yuha. And then we also cut back over to the Falcor dog, who's like, don't you see what you're doing, Sajin? You're giving in to revenge. You're the same thing that you criticized Tozen for. You're doing you yourself. But the Falcor dog was not upset with Sajin because that's their whole clan's shtick, was revenge. So he's actually proud of Sajin, and he starts to eat Sajin's heart. And he's like, thank you for being part of our family now, Sajin. And then Sajin becomes a dog just like him, and then we see Iba carrying him away. At the end of the story, though, it's implied he's still a dog. I like to think, because Iba's the new captain of Squad 7 after the time skip at the end of the story, I like to think, though, that Komamura still hangs out in the Squad 7 barracks. He's just a dog now. Not sure if he can talk. The Falcor dog could talk, so I can't see any reason why Koma shouldn't be able to. Still knows everything. He just can't fight anymore. Maybe one day if he gets as big as the Falcor dog, he can. But aside from that, yeah, he's just a dog that's like the mascot of Squad 7, but is still there and respected by everybody. So that's cool. And the Squad 7, you know, members, I'm sure the way that Komamura taught them, they're not going to be so, it's like, oh, our captain's a dog. You know, he was worried about that for the longest time with that bucket over his head, but after he got removed after the Soul Society arc, everybody just kind of accepted it. Just like, dude, you know, our swords can turn into magical, like you see all the weird crap Mayuri can do? The fact that you're a dog human person isn't that weird. In fact, a lot of people find him rather adorable, because he's fluffy, you know? So, yeah, that's the story with Komamura. And yeah, his Dangai Joe ability, awesome, looked amazing, and it basically was invincible. Any attack would just immediately just pass through it, or just it would recover from it immediately. And it still retains the tremendous amount of physical devastation, but we're never going to see it again, because that was only present during the humanization move. We're probably never going to see the original bankai, because, you know, he's a dog now, and like the light novels and stuff that wouldn't continue the series. But I like Komamura as a character. I think it gets looked over a lot because there's just so many, like maybe, oh, well, yeah, he's alright, but there's a few other characters that get more screen time or are more interesting than him. You know, I could see myself chilling out with Komamura. You know, if I was going to get sucked into the Bleach universe and I had to pick, like, one of the Gotei 13 to, like, sit down and have a drink with or have some dinner, Komamura would probably be on that list, you know, because he wouldn't try to experiment on me or kill me or, you know, just be distant. Like, can you imagine having dinner with Byakuya? You'd be sitting there like, sushi's pretty good, huh? So what do you like to do for fun? You know, that would be dinner with Byakuya. Komamura, though, he seems like he would talk to you. He'd be like, so when did you join the 7th Division? He's like, well, you see, I joined the 7th Division, probably about, I don't know, 20-something years ago. I was just a tiny pup back then. You see, what happened with Yamamoto? You know, he would talk to you. He'd be a friendly guy. And then at the end of the dinner, I'd be like, this is going to be awkward, but can I just feel your ears? And like, yeah, sure, go ahead. I'm like, yay! So, okay, that's that, all right. All right, then, so that's Kokujo Tengen Myo Dangai-jo. All right, so we got, I think only 5 left. 5 left. We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. I can't believe it. You know, when I start a new series of discussion, I'm always like, can I get through all of these? Or am I going to stop halfway? And I'm making good pacing so far, so let's just keep it rolling. 5 more weeks. All right. I hope we come up to Mayuri at some point, because Mayuri, we got like 10, 12, and 13. A lot of the last numbered captains are on here. All right, that's enough shuffling. Here we go. What do we got, ladies and gentlemen? We got... Oh! Jushiro Uketake! Alright, he's fun. Yeah, we don't get to see a lot of his Zanpakuto. We get to see, like, think once. I mean, he uses it more than once, but the ability, I think we only see once. He can, like, transmit attacks during Stark's, you know, Stark and Shunsui's battle. What's funny is that the release command of Jushiro's is one of the longer ones, and it's like, you know, lightning, strike now and become my sword, waters or waves, rise now and become my shield, you know, something like that. So it originally implied that his sword was like, you know, electricity and water based, because I don't know if you guys know this, but if you put electricity and water together, it makes an interesting combination to deal out some heavy damage. But we don't really get to see it later when he's fighting against Stark. Maybe it could do something with water and electricity, but we never learn. But hey, you know, that's what I'm here for, to talk about possibilities. So come back here next time where we'll talk about Sogyo no Kotowari. All right, everybody, you have a good one. See ya, dog bro. Signing out.